All right, and welcome to FFA Today, episode number 6. Been a long time since episode number 5, but we are back tonight. Recording, if you're listening anytime in the coming weeks, we're recording this on a Monday night, January 6th, at the Tijuana Flats on Gulf to Bay in Clearwater. I am Bobby Fenton, player on the Dunedin Pirates, joined by, of course, as always, the guy who makes it all go, player, general manager, president, and owner of the Dunedin Pirates, Andy Villamarzo. How you doing?
My gosh, that sounds like a lot of
You're
hats
all of
to
those
be wearing.
things. You know, you're right. I mean, I would even say assistant coach, kind of, but I mean, technically you are a player, so we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't want to even add that to my just plethora of hats I'd have to wear.
And then we ruffle feathers with some of our staff. But anyway, point is, we are here, episode 6. You know, we had the holiday. We had some, it's tough to get together, so we hadn't done a show in over a month. Last time we talked, we were leading up to the whole thing with the schedule release and everything. We didn't know what the divisional alignment was going to be, and it was only days away, and we just haven't done a show since then. So here we are now, and a lot has changed.
Yes.
And yet the basic structure we guessed on before the season started is pretty much intact. Going back here, I'm looking at, I got the sheet actually, Andy, from the first show we did.
Okay, I do see that.
And so this was like our guesses at divisions. And this is before we lost some teams, unfortunately, which does happen in semi-pro football.
Yeah.
So for the North Division, we guessed it was going to be, and this was when it was a 20-team league, Jacksonville Cardinals, Duval Raiders, St. Augustine Crusaders, Port Orange Stallions, which is what it is,
Yep.
and also Space Coast,
Yep.
who has since moved to what is the Central Division. We lost the Bay Area Panthers and the Orlando Generals, so it's us, Dunedin, along with the West Coast Soldiers, Southwest Florida Gladiators. And we get Space Coast. We had speculated, would it be the Florida Stingrays, the odd team to come make a little extra trip? It turns out to be Space Coast. So can you tell us a little bit about what you think might have led to the decision to make that move?
Well, I believe the decision by the board was try to ease the drive for the Florida Stingrays when it came to an out-of-division game. I don't think the worry was how would the travel be within the division. I think that aligned with...
It was roughly even for Space Coast and the Stingrays as far as the 3 Bay Area teams.
Right. But if they had to play, let's say they pulled the straw and had to play the Duval Raiders as an out-of-division game, then that is... Fort Myers, Jacksonville, there is no easy
Right, you're not doing that. We shouldn't be making people do that unless they absolutely have to. So I agree. It was a good call. And for Space Coast, and they're going to be playing at Cocoa High School, which is obviously a football program at Cocoa, very steeped in tradition. They have a nice facility. I'm looking forward to that road trip for sure. And, it maintains the whole, this league, it doesn't have two identities, but there's a very marked line between North and South, and I think that it just made sense. We've got all these northern teams with northern sensibilities, and by northern I mean northern Florida. The South Florida scene's a whole other thing.
Yep.
And when I think of Florida as far as the Stingrays versus Space Coast, I feel like the Stingrays probably have more in common with the teams in the Miami area and the South Florida area. And I think Space Coast has more in common again with us and the Jacksonville teams and things like that. So it made sense to me too.
The drive, I think.
And the drive, yeah.
The drive is what everybody looks at. They're looking at what's going to be a closer drive for this team to their. I think Space Coast is the team that kind of is going to take the.
It's pretty even for the if you look at West Coast, Dunedin, and Southwest Florida for Space Coast versus Florida Stingrays, I think it's pretty even for this. The Bradenton game with Southwest Florida, that's a little closer for the Stingrays, but the other one's probably just very tight for Space Coast. But anyway, we got 4 teams in each of those divisions. And it ended up working out, not that, again, we wanted teams to fall, but it ended up working out where we have 16 teams and a perfect 4-4-4-4. So in the South, now you get the Florida Stingrays. We lost Palm Beach, unfortunately. The Southeast Florida Reapers, the South Florida Wolverines, and the Broward Bulldogs. In the that's the Southeast Division. In the South Division, you get your Dade County action on with Magic City, the Miami Chiefs, the South Florida Chargers, and the Hollywood Browns, who are in Broward County. But either way, they're the southernmost Broward County team. So everything's nice and tidy. The schedule is out, and you had talked about the Kickoff Classic, Andy. And so we got 2 of those lined up for the first, actually it's the final weekend in January, but the first week of the season. What do we got?
Well, we got the northern matchup, which is going to feature the Space Coast Tar Heels
Yep.
and the Southwest Florida Gladiators. Now, that's a good Very good divisional matchup to
Yeah.
kick off the season. The Tar Heels have played a couple preseason games to this time. I know the latest game they played was a 16-14 victory over the Tri-County Steelers,
Okay.
which they're from the northern Florida area over by Putnam County. So that's
So panhandle type thing.
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
They were the league champions in the Universal Football League.
Okay.
So
not exactly a lightweight.
nope.
Space Coast, like I said, we talked about it on other shows. Don't know a lot about them myself, but everything I've heard, they're going to hit the ground running and be one of the tougher teams. And again, we looked at it, Andy, before, we knew, now we know for sure, though. I mean, our division, I'm not just trying to, we're Dunedin homers here because we play for Dunedin. I don't know if you look at the 4-team matchups in any other division. I don't know if another division, I mean, especially for us, has no breathers. I mean, you're looking at Southwest Florida, who is, obviously a defending champion and a multiple-time champion. We know about West Coast. We had Coach Troy Ruthroff on with us a couple of shows ago. That was really fun. We know what they're capable of, and they've got the Tangerine Bowl coming up, I think,
Yep.
a preseason game. And then now Space Coast is out here beating other league champions. It's going to be tough for us, man.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't want any other way. All right, but I'm just saying.
Competition, the best organizations Florida can offer. It's what you want in your league. It's what you want surrounding, all of your programs. You look at the South Division as well. That's another
South is
one.
tough, man. If I did Dade County, it would be.
You got the Bulls, they have their history, obviously. You got the Miami Chiefs. They won a league championship in the Florida Champion Football League. You got the Hollywood Browns. They won championships in the United Football Federation, now defunct. And, the South Florida Chargers are making their rise as a program that, was once in the, a cellar dweller? They're
That's
now
the
kind of
term, yeah.
making they're making that rise. But that South Division is comparable to the Central, I would say.
It's going to be tough. So when you got the schedule, what are some schedule? I mean, the Kickoff Classic, obviously, are some schedule highlights. Games we're looking forward to this year when I think of, some of the games we have this year. Just for us personally, obviously, in our division, I think West Coast, all the 3 teams besides us playing each other, I'm interested in all those outcomes. Space Coast, Southwest Florida, West Coast, Southwest Florida, West Coast, Space Coast. All those will be good. Who are the crosses? We know, for the South, the 2 South divisions, like Magic City. Who do they play from the Southeast division? Is it the Wolverines? Is it somebody like that? I have to look that up. I should have checked before the show, but all those crossovers will be good ones, and it's like a little mini just war down there every weekend for the South Florida teams.
Well, in Week 5,
Yeah.
a matchup that I would be very interested to see if I could is the rematch of last year's Alliance Conference Championship game, the Wolverines and the Bulls.
Yep.
That's going to be a matchup in Week 5 to really watch out for. And my other matchup that I would really just look at and say, wow, I wish I could be a fly on the wall for that game is Week 7. The Miami Magic City Bulls travel to Bradenton to play the champs.
Yeah.
That's a game I just wish we could say, hey, let's all have bye weeks. Let's go watch that.
I was going to say maybe it falls during our bye week, but the way they did the schedule this year, which we had gotten some hints about beforehand, but it used to be your bye week could fall, and it depends if there's an odd number of teams or not. There's an even number of teams, so we're not doing a bye week. Basically, we're having the Kickoff Classic the first week. That's a bye week for everybody else. Then I guess those 2 teams will be off the next week, or those 4 teams will be off the next week.
Yes, that's exactly
And then
right.
everybody else just plays 10 weeks in a row. They'll play 9 weeks in a row, and that's that. I talked about how I love it because I'm a South Tampa guy. I'm a big Gasparilla guy, and I've always had games on Gasparilla whenever I've been in the FFA. And this year, and I know some people are going to be playing in those games. Are you going to attend one of the Kickoff Classics? You going to go down there, you think?
I don't know. I'm 50-50.
Or you come to my house for Gasparilla, either way.
Well,
you get free parking.
I'm thinking about going.
You can walk to
I'm thinking
Bayshore.
about going. First time, I said, hey, I'm going to be 32.
Oh, yeah.
Our first game falls on my birthday, so
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying, hey.
What you need to do is come to my house, load up bikes in your car. Bikes are the key to Gasparilla. It's the best way to do it. Come park in my house, unload the bikes, and then you operate out of my house. And you can ride anywhere in South Tampa within 20, 30 minutes. And you can go all the way down Bayshore anywhere you want, and you can leave your car. You don't have to worry about it. I'm telling you now, that's what you should do.
That sounds like a pretty good idea.
We can work that out later.
Yeah, we'll have to get to that.
But that's doing the bye week right. So I like how they did it, and at this point, there's the 10 weeks in a row. football's a rough game. I mean, everybody likes a bye week, but I mean, an extra bye week for me, going all the way back to high school, and I didn't play college football. I didn't play, obviously, anything in the pros or anything like that, but a bye week to me always meant more practice.
Yeah.
Because, in the NFL, it's in the collective bargaining agreement. Like, when you have a bye week, you are off that week. Like, you leave the facility, you don't even come back for 7 straight days. You're not allowed to come back for 7 straight days. That's a bye week. In high school, on a regular game week, we'd practice, like, Monday would be shorts and just light, review film. Tuesday and Wednesday were hard practices. Yep. Thursday was pregame and Friday was game day. So what did you do during a bye week in high school?
That was pretty much the way we went about it. Our Mondays...
On a game week, though.
Yeah, on a game week.
On a bye week in high school, full pads Monday.
Yep.
Full pads Tuesday. Full pads Wednesday. Full pads Thursday. And then Friday maybe. It was the worst week of the whole year. I'd rather play a game.
Yeah, Friday would be... It depend on, what you did the previous week. I think
that
Friday,
too, yeah.
I think if you're coming off a loss, you're probably hurting for a pretty bad week of practice. And
it wasn't like they said, hey, just take the week off from football because you're on the bye week. It was easily the hardest week of the year. Bye week sucked. But now, at this level, and by level I don't mean that it's a high level or low level. I just mean at this level where we have jobs and other things to do and we practice once or twice a week. The bye week will probably still include a practice maybe, but it'll, in my experience as semi-pro, that practice tends to be a little bit less attended, lightly attended. But when it's the week before your first game now, it doesn't get to be a throwaway practice anymore, right?
No, I think that's the practice where everybody shows up.
Exactly.
I think the first game, the preseason game, you see everybody coming out of the woodworks. Everyone who hasn't been showing up is showing up. They're bringing friends you've never seen before. They're asking to play. It's just, it is unbelievable just coming out of the Jack in the Box and saying, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to play. Yeah. And that's where I'd say for me as an owner and general, like a general manager, it's hard because you got guys who now they're here and then now they brought their buddies. And it's, that's why I try to lay down the ground rules and say, this is what it is. This is what it is to play for the team. If you can't meet the guidelines, then this team may not be for you because there's certain guidelines that I would like met, and if you can't meet those standards, then I don't really need you on my football team.
Yeah, and that's everybody. And what we've done now basically is replaced one of those throwaway practices with the bye week being first now. It's the biggest one of the year as far as everybody's going to be all fired up. But you mentioned preseason games, so we've had a few of those. The Dunedin Pirates had one, and I unfortunately had I was out of town that week, so I missed the preseason game. Took a trip over to Umatilla, took on the Lake County Storm, a longtime nemesis of preseason, categories. We played them like 3 years in a row in the preseason or something like that.
4 years.
4 years in a row, yeah. So how did this one go? I know it was a pretty well played, tight game. I saw the game film, was a little disappointed to see that it was played on a soccer field with no football lines, but you guys made do. How did that go?
I thought the offense, I thought the offense played well. I think the defense, could shore up some things. But all in all, the coaches were able to get everybody into the game. I thought that it was a good first, introduction to football for some of the guys who hadn't been, in pads in a few years. They were able to get that, feeling of getting hit again. Because, as you know, it's kind of a shock to your body to get hit for the first time, and you hadn't done it in a long time. Because I got friends who they're like, oh, well, if you're still playing, I could play. I haven't played in
you're
years.
seasoned.
Yeah, it's like, well, I still play, but I also have that I'm not in shock when I get
right. You haven't
hit.
been out of it for long enough. At any given point, you've always been in there, and you're not rusty or anything like that. And I didn't play last year. And then I made like I said a few shows ago, or actually, have I done a show since my first practice? I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
So first practice, and I told the story of my first practice ever with Dunedin when I joined the team on a week where Nate just happened to want to do Bama's, or in the Oklahoma drill. 5 minutes into my first practice, having not played football in over 10 years, and going up against a 240-pound fullback that we had. So then this year comes along, and our practice happens, and it was on our first day of full pads, which naturally all the ones without pads I missed. I come in on the first day of full pads. I see Rodney, our assistant coach. I haven't seen him in over a year.
Yeah.
I walk onto the field. I go, hey, Rodney, what's up? Doesn't even say hello to me. Just goes, how much you weigh? I go, what? He's like, how much you weigh? I'm like, 210. And he's got a little pen and he starts writing. I'm like, what the hell you want? What's going on? He's like, I'll get you a good matchup. I'm like, what matchup? We're doing this again with Bama's and Oklahoma. It ended up being Bull in the Ring.
Yeah. That
we did again 5 minutes into my first practice, and this time over a year and a half. It went okay. Everything was fine.
I was gonna say, how did you feel? You getting thrown right into the fire?
I went up against Colin, who I am taller than and a little heavier than, but he's strong.
Yeah.
And I'm strong too, and we both stayed in the ring, but he got more pushback. Like, I think from where we started in the middle, we were a little more on my end when the whistle blew. I also got my hands up under his chin, which would have been illegal hands to the face. I apologized to him after. He's a tough son of a bitch, though, Colin, if you're listening. And then my second matchup, I went up against some tall, lanky guy I've never seen before, who was taller than me, but I think I had 30 pounds on or so.
Okay.
And I pushed him out pretty easily. It was fine. Everything was fine. But then, we started running live drills in team, and actually 7-on-7 we kind of went live too.
Yeah. And
my very first tackle attempt of the entire thing, I got one hand on this one kid we have who's like 18, and I'm 39, so this kid's literally less than half my age. And he broke away. I had one arm on him, on his hip, and he kept running very fast. He's very fast. And I just tore every muscle. Like, I don't even know what this is called, but I can't. Right now I cannot do a pull-up. I can do like 12, 13 pull-ups.
Yeah.
And this muscle just tore. And I felt it just tear. First tackle attempt of the practice.
Wow.
And now I hang on the bar, and I can't get this muscle to fire.
You're just like, one's not going.
Yeah, and I can do everything else. Like, I can push, I just can't pull, so I didn't have to come out or anything.
Right.
And I'm fine for, our next practice, and we got rained out this past weekend. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that happens, and maybe it happens to everybody, but it didn't used to happen to me that much until I got to be old.
Yeah.
And as a 39-year-old, and I told my wife when I got home what happened. She's like, you're an idiot. Like, what are you even doing? Like, think about why you were even attempting to tackle an 18-year-old speedster to begin with.
Right.
And she's like, you don't need to be in that position. I'm like, yeah, but I'm having fun.
Yeah.
So I
Hey, that's what if you asked all these players, hundreds of players, I mean, that's going to be, it's top 3. I mean, you're going to have some.
Yeah, we're having fun. I mean, nobody, like I said, everything with football, everything that you hear about, all the controversy, and we got this league here. I still think I've been trying to get some of my newspaper reporter friends to write an article about us in the Tampa Bay Times, because all this stuff you hear about, and we're paying triple-digit money, team fee, to get to do it. When people tell these millionaires they're crazy for even doing it for millions of dollars, I would like some exposure for that.
Yeah.
For either being, brave and filled with heart and determination, or for just being crazy. One way or the other, I want some recognition.
Well, the Suncoast News does a good job
yes,
of
they
getting
do.
us, some pubs. So Eric Horchie, you do a great
job.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm kidding, by the way. I don't do this for any attention. None of us do. Because if you want attention, semi-pro football is not the place to be.
Hey, it'd be nice to get an article in the Tampa.
It'd be nice to get an article.
Never bad.
It'd be nice to get an article. And I talk about it on my podcast, The Free Stretch, on JoeBucksFan.com too. So, what are your thoughts on as far as practice? And this is where when we have Nate here, we can talk to him about it, and we'll probably have him on the next show. You got to hit a little bit. I remember Ernest Givens 2 years ago saying, "Guys, I'm not," and he played in the NFL. He knows. He goes, "I'm not big on hitting guys on my own team. It's not." He's like, "But we got to get a look." Those were his exact words. He's like, "We got to get a look. So we have to do it at least a little bit, especially in the preseason."
Right.
And I know, like, this past weekend was supposed to be a padded practice, right? And then it got rained out. I mean, we got to get a look, right? That's basically what it is.
I mean, you got to be used to making tackles and full pads. Now, obviously, over the years, the ideas, the philosophy on how much you should be hitting has gone, it's gone lower and lower as safety concerns continue to arise with, American football. And it's, back, I would say, when I played and even when you played, it's, hitting was, totally mandatory every week. There was no, we're just going to have helmets and shorts and do that too.
Like I said, the bye week was the worst week of all, and we did that all the time. And what do high school kids do? I don't even know what they do now. I mean, I coached in high school. The last time I coached in high school was 2011. And we were even then a lot lighter than it was when I was in high school, but we still had a couple padded practices.
When I've gone to them, I've seen uppers. It's like that's what I see, uppers. I think
thud.
You emphasize just, hey, wrap up and try not to. Let's not hurt our best players. It reminds me of like the the water boy a little bit, where he's about to hit him in the back of the head. And he's like, "What are you about to hurt one of my, finely tuned athletic machines?"
Hey man, I mean, it's a bad. They've been doing it though. Like a lot of teams. I mean, Canada, they did eliminate almost all of the hitting in their practices, and I think a few other teams have done it in America at the high school and collegiate level. There's different philosophies, but a lot of the teams, and this is anecdotal, I have to look it up, but a lot of the teams that have done that have not seen any drop in missed tackles or anything like that, or have not seen any negative results. So perhaps you can just hit when it's time to hit and not necessarily have to do it in practice. What are we gonna do once the season starts in our weeklies? Probably just uppers most of the time. That's up to Nate, obviously.
Yeah, up to our head coach. I don't know exactly what his plans.
Him.
Yeah, absolutely. He would have the best idea of what we'd be doing, but I think the emphasis on hitting, once you're in season, I think that it depends week to week with coaches. Coach Givens, very much a cardio guy. Like,
he was cardio.
We believed in running. Yeah, we had to run for 20 minutes mandatory every practice.
Which I have no problem with.
I was like, that's fine. I saw myself drop to my lowest weight. I was,
Yeah.
I was like 170 at one point, during the season, or 169. I was like, oh my God, I haven't been 169 since I was like a, junior in high school.
Yeah.
So every coaching philosophy is different. There's coaches that emphasize a ton of cardio. There's coaches who don't emphasize a lot of cardio. There's coaches who emphasize a ton of tackling. There's coaches who don't emphasize a lot of tackling.
Right.
It's just a matter of the mix.
We've got now, I guess, for everybody, what do we have, 3 more Saturdays without football? And then for everybody besides the Kickoff Classic teams, so they only have 2 more Saturdays without football, right?
Yep.
And then it'll be time. So 3 more practices for most teams. And other teams are doing midweek stuff. We do ours on Saturdays and things like that. So preseason game went okay. Nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
Everybody got to play. Yes, there were soccer lines on the field, which I guess if you commit a holding penalty inside the goalie box, that's an automatic safety, right? Is that how that works? Or
I don't even know how that would have went about. I mean,
the poor referees. I don't know, what did they do? The chain people? Were there chain people?
There was chain people.
Okay,
the referees, I think, did the best job they could. I think our guys, obviously didn't know how to react to, the officiating. I've told guys, and I think everybody knows in these leagues, you go to an away game, sometimes most of the times these refs know the other team. It's going to be an uphill battle. I think guys were expecting some 50-50 type called game. I was like...
You would expect that, as you should. Now, let me ask you, this is a preseason game, so it's different. But in a regular season FFA game, who is responsible for the officials? Is it the home team or is it the league?
The home team.
So we could get anybody the hell. Nobody checks on that. It's like, it's not like...
No. The league schedules the referees.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought you meant who pays for them.
Oh, no, yeah, I know the home team pays for them. I'm saying, we don't just call up, hey, we're going to bring our crew.
No.
It's okay. That's important, I think.
Yeah, I think that kind of relationship, if you tend to have the same crew over and over,
that's
build
true.
That
you use the same. Yeah.
And then I do like seeing a different crew because it gives you looks and you're able to know that you're not dealing with the same old guys who are coming over and they're like, oh hey, I remember last week. It's like
right,
it's a totally different crew.
Did you ever read the book Scorecasting? There's a book called Scorecasting.
No.
And they ran all these studies on different myths in sports or different things in sports that you want to know more about. So one thing they looked into was home field advantage. They wanted to figure out, what is home field advantage? Where does it come from? Things like that. Do you know what they found? And again, I'm not saying this is gospel just because they found this, but in their studies, if you ever have a chance to get the book, it's called Scorecasting. They kind of, for example, they took games where the Knicks play the Nets.
Right.
Or the Clippers play the Lakers. Because people say, oh, well, it's an advantage. You sleep in your own bed, blah, blah, blah. So they looked at games like that.
Right.
And the home team still had advantage. They couldn't figure out, well, why? Because in that case, nobody's traveling. Nobody's on odd sleep or anything. And they took all these factors out of it to try and, just parse what it could be. They took free throw, since you can't, necessarily tell from a field goal percentage because that has to do with the talent of the teams. They looked at free throw percentages, home and road, all these different things. You realize they found no correlation with anything for home field advantage. There is no such thing as home field advantage except for one thing. It was officiating. The calls And it was only a few percentage points, but calls favor the home team because of the home crowd.
Right.
And they found that in stadiums, the closer the crowd is, the more pronounced it was. And in stadiums, like in soccer stadiums, for example, where there's a track around the field,
right,
they found the home field advantage was, again, almost neutral. It didn't matter as much. They boiled everything down. The only thing they could find, not, they had to go travel too far. It wasn't, the time zones. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't people yelling at you while you're trying to shoot free throw. It was just officiating. That's all it was.
I mean,
it's amazing.
You watch the games over the weekend in the
Oh
NFL,
my God.
the wild card games.
You know,
it's a call here, a call there.
It really, and I'm getting tired. And listen, I know how hard it is. I mean, I've never been a referee, but I know how hard it is. I'm getting to the point. I'm never gonna. I'm one of these. I'm not gonna watch this anymore. I mean, I'm obsessed with this stuff. I watch every minute. There's a game on right now. The Lending Tree Bowl, I think, between Miami, Ohio, and Louisiana Lafayette. And there's only, as we speak right now, 7 NFL play and 2. There's 9 football games in the whole year left.
Yeah.
For any level.
Yeah.
So
sad.
I eat it up. But my point is, I'm never gonna boycott or anything like that. But like, I'm watching the Bills Texans the other day. The Bills are getting ready to win this game with a field goal.
Yeah.
It's gonna be over. They call a blindside block.
I was watching.
You saw what I'm talking about.
I saw it.
One of the most just completely unnecessary, just non-existent, just a solution looking for a problem type of calls I've ever seen. Bills get taken out of field goal range, and then I'm not saying they didn't do things wrong on their own too, but they were getting ready to win the game a couple plays later.
Yeah, and I felt for the Bills. I've been to their stadium twice for home games. You know, the Bills fan base, the Bills Mafia, it's real. And Buccaneers are obviously my team, but I really felt that when the Buffalo ended up losing that game. That is so tough. You have that call on Cody Ford. Deshaun Watson in overtime ends up, just breaking out of unbelievably.
Yeah, and to their credit, he made a play. And I want to say this is important because this matters. I don't care who wins the game. I wasn't rooting for Buffalo or Houston. I don't care. I just want to see the game, or at the end of the game, I don't go, well, yeah, one team won, but really it should have been the other team. Like, that happens so much in the NFL. I look at the game with, what was it? Which one? Oh, obviously the Saints game with the Vikings. The offensive PI. Whatever. I'll let that go because that's a judgment call. Seattle playing the Eagles the other day.
Yeah.
Okay. Carson Wentz gets helmet to helmet by Clowney. Clearly, no call. A few minutes later, Seattle is in goal line. Can't get it done. Has to settle for a field goal instead of a touchdown. Oh, wait, there's a flag. They brushed against Russell Wilson. Like, literally a fraction of what happened to Wentz where they didn't call it. They call this. Now it's 1st and goal from the 2 instead of they're kicking a field goal, and they score a touchdown. 4 points, okay? In a game that ended 17-9, that would have been 13-9, and maybe Philadelphia kicks a field goal the first time they have a chance to make it 13-12. Then they get it back again, and maybe they're going for a field goal now instead of trying to go for it on 4th and 15 or whatever the hell it was. I mean, again, these calls are so big, and they swing games, and people just like, you know.
I mean, even, on this level, I try to, when I would help with administrating with the now defunct United Football Federation, I remember fielding the calls from teams on a Sunday. A Sunday was almost like...
Oh, that's complaint day, right?
Yeah, it was complaint day. It was like everybody called my phone and was, he's like, oh, Andy, we lost the game because of the refs. And, and I was like, well, what was the score? They'd be like, oh, well, it was 45-7. But, if these refs made some calls. And I'm like, all right, well, let's be honest.
No, I know.
There's 38 worth of points difference. Right. I don't think the officials could have.
I'm talking about the pro. I mean, at the level we're at, and first of all, there's no cameras, there's no nothing. It's very hard to officiate football. I'm not even talking about that. But I've said this before. They just need to have a couch referee, is what I call it. Because when you're sitting at home watching on TV, right?
Yeah.
About how many seconds is it after a play ends till you know exactly what happened and what should have been called? Just based on watching the TV broadcast, not even having any special... Like 10 seconds later, that was this was that, his foot was it. And yet the referees take 5 minutes, they go under the hood.
Well, it's, it's so bang bang, but then some things you're like, how could you even?
No, it is
fathom?
bang, yeah.
Yeah, I mean this, and to go back to the Bills-Texans game, start of the second half. I believe his name Andre Carter. He catches the kickoff in the end zone, and he, to I guess the referees avail, he didn't wave his hand. He didn't, really like show a sign of giving himself up.
Right.
But he did, have kind of the body language like, I'm not taking this out.
Right. Yeah.
So he just hands the ball off, or he kind of tosses it at Tony Corrente, the head official, like,
right.
Okay, let's take this out to the 25. He doesn't call the play dead. He just lets the ball
just
roll around,
there, yeah.
And then the Bills recovered it in the end zone, and he raised his hands to say there's a touchdown, and I almost lost it.
But
I was like,
though? That's okay, because it's like you said, bang bang. That part I'm not even getting upset at. What I want is for somebody. First of all, every referee out there, at least the head referee, needs to have an earpiece, which I think they do now. And there just needs to be a referee that when they throw a flag can just buzz down, even without even having stopped the game, the following play is under review. No, just say, hey, yeah, pick that flag up. That was nothing. And that's it. And you don't even notice at home because they just can do it seamlessly. Like, this could be done so much more seamlessly than it is. And we make, people say they hate replay. It's because replay gets put to use so incorrectly, and they make it take a long time. They stop the flow of the game and this, that, and the other. And yeah, nobody likes that, of course. But it's not that hard. I mean, again, when you're sitting at home watching TV, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, whatever, within 15 seconds, they've given you enough looks where you, Joe, average dude, knows exactly what happened. So if we know exactly what happened, the head referee should just have somebody be able to tell him exactly what happened if they're messing it up. Which, again, they're going to do sometimes. Totally understandable. But anyway, point is, one other thing I want to ask you about, and this is something I made a mental note the other day, watching the Vikings score the touchdown in the first, possession of overtime.
Right.
We're under NFL rules, right?
Yes.
So if there's an overtime, that's all the same that we do, right?
Yep.
I don't know if it's happened yet, but
we fell victim to it in the playoff game against the Jacksonville Cardinals. We actually had our first possession in overtime. We did not convert. I believe we actually ended up turning over the ball on an interception, and then the Cardinals.
Well, at that point, it's sudden death anyway, then.
Yeah, exactly. So they went ahead, and their touchdown on that very next drive ended up being the go-ahead, and the game was over. So it's
and that's fine. That makes sense. What I have a problem with any time things happen, and it doesn't happen in every overtime game, but it seems to have happened in a lot of high-profile games, including the Super Bowl a few years ago. One team goes and scores a touchdown, and that's the end of the game. I understand, and the college overtime to me is terrible. There ought to be circus music playing. We're just make up these arbitrary. Put the ball in the 25. Football's played on a 100-yard field, with a clock and everything. I like the way the NFL does overtime in the playoffs in general, except for that one thing. What would be so hard about just saying, okay, both teams are going to get the ball one time, no matter what.
Right.
If they're still tied after that, then it's sudden death. That's it. That's all you have to do. That's the only change you have to make.
It's become so much of a bigger issue because teams are being able to drive down, and you're sitting there like, wow, if they just had that one more possession.
Yeah, I mean, and let me just stop the just play defense knuckleheads right now, because I know there's some of you out there going, dude, don't complain, just play some defense. You don't win if you make them punt. That's the whole point. It's not even. They go down and score. Okay, now you have a chance to go down. Just play defense and stop whining. If you won the game for making him punt, and maybe that's something. Maybe we say overtime is one possession no matter what, and you can choose offense or defense, but if you score, you win. If you don't score, you lose, and that's it. We're playing one possession. That actually would be kind of interesting then.
That sounds like maybe a good XFL rule.
What do you think would you do in the coin? And the different teams would make different decisions, obviously, but what if I said, okay, regular football rules, but just one possession? If you score, you win. You don't, you lose. Do you think teams would still take the ball? I mean, some teams, like maybe those late 90s, early 2000s Bucks teams probably wouldn't. In this day and age, the way scoring is, I wonder,
Yeah. I guess if I'm looking at our, FFA teams, I think the Glads would always just say, let's play defense.
Yeah,
it wouldn't even be like a thought process.
No.
They'd be like, let's put our defense on the field. We're going to stop them.
I think because our FFA games, with the level of talent and skill in the NFL, those guys, there's points flying back and forth, especially with the rules the way they are. It's still pretty hard to score in semi-pro football. I mean, with two evenly matched teams, it's pretty hard to score.
I would say in semi-pro, it's always the defense is usually
Right.
ahead of the offense, because the offense is, as you know, a rhythm thing. It's always like a timing. Passing games are just all over the place. I would say the teams who, what I've seen the tendency is if you play together in flag and the guys come
That's
together,
true.
that
That
where
makes a difference.
a lot of that is coming into play where
Yeah.
these guys who play flag together come together, they play on these teams, and the timing is great
Yeah.
because they've perfected it playing flag football.
Right.
And people could say, oh, well, flag football's not tackle football.
It's not, but the passing routes and stuff, concepts, all that.
If you know where a guy's going to be, that's
Yeah.
a big time difference. If you know a guy's going to cut at a certain point when in a zone, you're like, hey, I could throw that ball there and I know my guy's going to get it. You're not worried about, I don't know when he's going to
Yeah.
turn.
I think it's one reason that football, I mean, obviously, again, things have evolved with coaching, things have evolved with the skill of athletes and things like that. But I think another really, I don't want to say underrated because I've heard people bring it up before, underrated reason why offense is the way it is these days. This generation of players grew up with all the 7-on-7. Like when we were in high school, we had our practices during the season ended. We maybe had summer like lifting and stuff like that. We didn't play they do 7-on-7 camps every freaking weekend during the summer now.
Yep.
And these kids, by the time they're 20-something and they're going into college or by the time they're going into the pros, yeah, I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom. It's like second nature breathing to them.
That's what it is now. High school, college, NFL now, it's 7-on-7. I've even seen, like for flag football leagues around the area,
Yeah,
7-on-7. That's where it's at because you have the center, you got your quarterback, and then you got all your skill guys. You got your running back, you got your 4 wide receivers, or if you're just loaded with wide receivers, you're just going to go 5 wide air raid, and we're going to throw the ball over the yard.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's interesting to think about how that would work if you did overtime that way. Although, again, I'm not in favor of that. I maintain it's... And I would do this in the regular season, too, but at least for the playoffs where it really matters. Both teams get the ball once, and I think you'd still want the ball first because you're still... You can't have it, if one team scores, the other team goes and scores, then the other team that had it first scores again.
Yeah.
That's still uneven, but it's less uneven. 2 versus 1 is less uneven than 1 versus 0. Like, you can't have it where one team's offense never gets to be on the field. To me, that's ludicrous. I can't believe anybody defends it. And I don't want to hear anybody say just play defense. That's a completely invalid argument because one team literally does not even get the chance to play defense, okay? They don't get, half the team doesn't come on the field. That's just, hey, 1 each. If we're tied, sudden death. And sudden death's so much fun. Isn't sudden death fun? Like, just knowing at any moment, not, if we get a field goal, it's still going, but if we get... No, hey, next score wins.
That's what makes the NFL just so exciting when it comes to the postseason play, because 2 overtime games.
And that's I'm a big hockey fan. I know some of you guys out there maybe aren't hockey fans, maybe some of you are. And hockey's got the most ridiculous tie break scenarios in the regular season with the 3-on-3 and then the shootout.
Yeah.
And I love the playoffs. And here's one net, here's another net, here's the puck. And we are not leaving until this puck is in the back of one of those nets, and that's it. And once it does happen, though, we're done immediately.
Yeah.
And soccer's the other one. Soccer. Let's do 15 minutes, but if somebody scores, we'll still play the 15 minutes, just in case somebody else scores again and we're still tied. Why? Just sudden death. Sudden death.
I think soccer should just go right to penalty kicks. Those are the most exciting.
I hate penalty kicks, but if you're going to have them, yes, just do them immediately.
I just say, forget the whole 15, and then, my thing is, when I first started watching soccer, it was the World Cup. I didn't watch MLS.
That's the only soccer I watch. Still.
Yeah, I watched the World Cup, and when they got to penalty kicks, I was like, now this is exciting.
I mean, it's dramatic. There's no question in that. I think it'd be dramatic if both the head coaches arm wrestled at midfield to see who wins, too. That doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. It is dramatic.
Right.
But, yeah, to me, I mean, just get out there and play, and if someone will relent, it will go in. But I enjoyed, even watching the other game that went to overtime over the weekend with the Texans and the Bills. I'm always rooting for that first team not to score and then punt or something. Then it's like, okay, sudden death now. Like, I don't have to think anymore. I just know whoever scores wins it. But anyway, yeah, it did happen to the Dunedin Pirates that one time in the playoff game, and we'll see. But the NFL rules thing is interesting. I think a lot of people need reminding about that because I always assumed it was college rules when I first started playing. but it's straight up NFL rules and NFL timing rules too, all that stuff. So
and not all the venues, would be able to. We were going over the venues here just before we started, and we got so many good venues around. I mean, it would be the way you call a game or the way you could watch a game. You're wondering, could we get angled views if we could ever have video like that?
It's never gonna happen.
I've always said, wouldn't that be like? That would make it so much even more interesting. You'd probably have arguments.
I mean, you're talking about people in the stands filming on their phones is the best you're gonna have. And maybe you can convince like some crew to come out and film a, like the Alliance Bowl itself. Maybe you could have a replay review.
That's a great idea.
You could probably for a few $100, and it wouldn't be actually on TV, but you wouldn't need it to be on TV. You just need a crew. You could hire like a crew, some videographer crew. A few $100. Say, hey, could you just come do our football game? And then we just want to be able to give the tape out to all the players that played in it. And we also want to have a little laptop that maybe we can go back to and you can show us what just happened on a play.
Hey, Terrence Page, Anthony Smith, we got ideas.
If you guys are listening, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, again, I know you can't do it for almost any game except Alliance Bowl, but for that one game.
For that one play, give them the red challenge flags, both of the heck.
How cool would that be?
How fast do you think they'd throw those 2 red challenge flags?
Just imagine the feeling of power, like if I just handed you that red flag. You see it on TV all the time, but what if you just tuck one in your sock? I know they like it for TV. I think it's just easy to just say to the ref, I want a challenge, but we have this red flag system because people like it. It's dramatic when they throw it. Remember Gruden used to throw it out there like 50 yards out there? Yeah, that's fun.
I feel like on this level, if you had that, you're going to use it probably like in the first quarter. You're losing 2 timeouts. You're done for the game. And then because the management of time and when to use challenges, we watch.
I hate all that, by the way. I think replay should not be a strategic decision. It should be getting the call right, which is, again, goes back to the couch referee. Yeah. We wouldn't need a red flag if we just had a couch referee at all times. And college is kind of close to this because in college they don't have to challenge stuff. They just buzz down if there's a thing they think should be looked at. I hate should he use a challenge here? Oh, he's going to not have it later. Is the call right or wrong? Fix it if it's wrong. That's it. Do it quickly. Move on.
Yeah. Sometimes I just feel like if you took a little bit of college, rules, just instituted them into the NFL, but a little bit of the NFL and get it into college, it's like, wow, you'd have just the same kind of game, same great product, but you can't. College football is what it is. Like the field goals are still at, you line it up, you hold them at the 2 and you snap them.
Yeah, the extra points are still at the conversion line. I don't like the NFL extra point, by the way. I don't like having to think about extra points and, they're going to win. This guy missed an extra point. It's like, man, I just like it when they're automatic. If anything, if they wanted to get rid of extra points, they should have just let you declare when you score.
Yeah.
I want 7, give me 7. If you want to go for 2, say, okay, I'll take 6 and I'm going for 2. Right. But if you want the 7, just take the 7. You don't have to actually kick it.
Right.
Because this whole 33-yard extra point, he missed it, and then to me, it's a circus. I don't like it.
It's losing a lot of kickers' jobs, I'll tell you that.
It's messed with field goal percentage, even though it has nothing to do with field goals. I heard one of the kickers, I can't remember who it was, saying, extra points were so easy and mindless, but they were a great way to go out there and just get a kick in.
Right.
And then if something wasn't working on your field goals, you can maybe, I figured something out on this extra point, where even if you hooked it, you knew it was going through.
Right.
And he's like, now these are all like competitive kicks, and he's like, yeah, guys are just mind bleeped.
Yeah.
And it's messing with the actual field goals, not just the extra points too.
Oh yeah, I truly believe the extra points now being back, it's messing with them during the game, because once you miss one, it's like hitting a jump shot in basketball. It's like if you hit one, you'll tend to start making more. But with field goals, you saw it with Roberto Aguayo there in 2016.
Yeah.
He comes from college football, is the highest percentage made kicker, and then he comes into the NFL, and once he started missing, in the preseason, it's like
it snowballed. And having that second round pick on his head, though, like that was tough too. I think because he knew everybody was watching close, and you're not just some guy off the street. Everybody's, I think that made a difference too. But I've thought about our rules in the FFA with the NFL rules, and I do think there are some things we should probably tweak. And even though the NFL changed the extra point rule, I think we should still kick the regular extra points. I know we do them long too. And a lot of teams don't even bother with kicking anyway in our league, and they just go for 2 every time, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Right.
So maybe it's fine the way it is. But there's a few things. I mean, we are not. And I would honestly do 12-minute quarters too. I think 12-minute quarters are something we should talk about.
I think they like doing the 15,
No, they definitely do.
Everything with the NFL.
Yeah. Well, college too is 15. But
yeah.
But anyway, we'll leave all that for another day. You did mention venues, yeah, and there was a good little Facebook thread that the FFA Facebook page did with some of the team venues that were out there. Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, St. Augustine going to be playing at a nice private school, St. Joseph's Academy, very nice field. Port Orange going to be going to Daytona Municipal Stadium, which is a beautiful, like an actual stadium with a turf field. Broward's one, I drove by their field just not realizing it when I was down in South Florida over Christmas with my wife's family, and I said, it's a nice turf field. It's well lit. Mm-hmm. I said, there should be an FFA team that uses this. And what a waste. This is before I knew Broward played there. And I saw the Browards playing there. Obviously, South Florida, we've been down there to Ives Estates. Carter Park's another one with the turf field where the Wolverines play. Some really nice, like we mentioned before, Cocoa High School for Space Coast. West Coast going to be playing at East Lake Sports Complex, which is a nice field. And, of course, we love the Falcons' Nest over at Dunedin High School.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll be out there in a few weeks, too. So that was fun. We'll get Nate involved next time, right?
Oh, yeah. We'll bring the coach on board. And then we do got people interested in jumping on the show.
Oh, love having anybody. Let's get them on.
I mean, we got a little bit of news here. He reached out to me, actually, a day ago. Former Florida Stingrays quarterback Kyle Ray, he announced on Facebook he is taking his talents to the Southwest Florida Gladiators.
Oh.
He wanted that to be known here on the show. I was planning on maybe trying to bring him on as a phone caller. We haven't done it yet, but I did want to acknowledge he did make a decision on leaving teams. And, that's something maybe is a little underrated is free agency on this level. I mean,
it's not like college. There's no waivers. Anybody on it, you can't do it in a season, but every season to season, you can play for anybody you want to, as long as they'll have you, obviously. And I know we had that happen with our own. Nate Munson was with us, went over to Southwest. Basically, Southwest Florida, they've got a Nick Saban-like thing going where, they don't even recruit people. The recruits recruit them, and they have to cull and pick which ones they want. And it's a kind of a self-fulfilling thing to their credit. So, yeah, I mean, that quarterback job is one a lot of guys want, and I guess,
I think it's the pathway to you feel like, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to win a championship. As long as I don't turn over the football, I hand it off to the running backs behind this behemoth of an offensive line, and this defense is going to do me a lot of wonders, and I got a field goal kicker who's going to make all of his kicks. I mean, what
they
else
actually do kick at Southwest Florida.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, wow, what better attractive job is to walk in and know that everything's pretty much in place. You just It's got to be tough too, because it's like if you're messing up, then everyone's looking at you like you're just making this tougher on all of us.
It's a high-profile gig. So we'll have a chance. There is a way to get phone calls on this thing. I'll work on that because we can get some guests. I know it's hard to get here in person if you don't live right in the immediate area, but we can get him on maybe by phone once I figure out how to do all that. So
we got people who want to. I know Grant Henderson, if you're listening, St. Augustine Crusaders owner, he'd love to get a little bit more talk about the North. He's told me he would love to hear.
We're far away from the North. Yeah, we do need a northern voice because, like I said, we know about our division and all that. But it'd be nice to have somebody from all the different regions around the state where we have teams to kind of give us a little fill-in. We throw it around the league type thing.
I would say the week of Kickoff Classic, we do it,
all right.
But we get the president on. We get Cheese himself, Mr. Anthony Smith. Let's get his views on the league heading into the opening slate of games, where he sees this league going. I think that'd be a great person to have on the show just to discuss. This is his first year back, I would say, since 2015.
Okay.
So definitely somebody to get on board, and we'll talk to him. And we got so much more to touch base on, but great episode 6.
Yep,
definitely
episode 6
delved
in the
into
books.
everything.
Emails, by the way, if you want to email either Andy, your email address.
You can email me at andyvillamarzo@gmail.com.
On Twitter too, right? Of course.
On Twitter, yep, Villamarzo. Just go ahead and send a follow.
If you want to email me, BobbyGameday@yahoo.com, BobbyGameday@yahoo.com. On Twitter, you can find me at BobbyGameday. That is FFA Today. Episode 6 in the books. Thanks to all of you for listening. We got the Kickoff Classics coming up in a few weeks. We got the regular season a week after that. Plenty more to talk about, and we'll have another show between now and then. But Andy, thanks to you. I'm Bobby Fenton. That's FFA Today. FFA, the Florida Football Alliance, the league that delivers.